Welcome to episode 266 of Fresh Air at 5. In this episode, I talk about summer starts and how, it's been changing schedule and doing some summer session has been great. It's been a great slowdown from the regular, but I'm still working and still enjoying life. We had Canada Day on Wednesday and didn't listen to as many podcasts as I wanted, but the ones that I did were super quality. So you should take a listen to the ones I did too and check out the Homework Club on Teach System Labs with Justin Reich. All right, without further ado, episode 266 of Fresh Air at 5.
I'm AJ Bianco from Podcast PD, a part of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you're listening to now. Shows in the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other interesting education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Welcome to Fresh Air at 5, the podcast. I'm your host, Brian Carpenter, coming to you every week from Abbotsford, which is about 45 minutes east of Vancouver, British Columbia, on the west coast of Canada. Fresh Air at 5 is my regular attempt to get some fresh air by walking about my neighborhood, which is located on the traditional and unceded territory of the Stolo people, the Simath First Nation and Mathwee First Nation. I consume podcast content while I walk, then reflect on this content in an unedited video, which I post on my X, formerly known as Twitter, channel every day. This podcast is the collection of the audio taken from those daily selfie videos over the course of a week, Monday to Friday. So let's jump into my listening and learning this past week. Good morning, PLN. It's June 29, 2026. Good morning. I'm up and out this morning early, and it is an overcast day, about 13 degrees Celsius, and calm. The day's supposed to be reasonably dry, which is nice, and I'm headed off to summer session at my school. So we have an intake of students for our online courses that starts today and goes until the end of July. Teacher support is available. So this is an option for me to be a teacher in the summer and to work actually in the summer. I'm always a teacher, but to be working in the summer. So this is happening. We've got a small team that will be at my school, and we're going to be supporting about 700 students that have signed up, and hopefully will make significant progress in their learning over the month of July. If they're not done, they'll carry on to the fall, because this is one of our intake times, and not necessarily everybody or even most will finish their coursework by the end of July, but it's a way to get going in the summer. All right, this morning I listened to episode 92 of Teach Lab with Justin Reich, as Jesse Dukes and Justin Reich talk about AI being invited to the party. They started off their series, The Homework Machine, back in episode 1 of The Homework Machine, talking about how artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, just crashed the ed tech party. It was not something that we can control and permit in the way that, if we bought, say, Microsoft Office and we introduce that to our schools, we can control the rollout of such a tool. We can control the rollout of Google. We can control the rollout of a number of different educational technologies, Adobe Express, things like that, and do a gradual release of these things. But on November of 2022, ChatGPT showed up, and it has been rocking the education system since that time. So in this episode, they talk about how some teachers and students are considering how they're using AI thoughtfully, as thought partners, as side-by-side for writing support, things like that. So this is a very interesting and encouraging episode. It's not saying that everybody should be doing this, but we need to be mindful and thoughtful about our AI use. What are we doing with it? Why are we doing with it? And is it being helpful, or is it actually just helping us cheat and get by? So take a listen for yourself. I got my dad listening to this, which is pretty fun, and he is very curious. He's only on finished episode 2 as we were coming back from our fishing trip. We listened together. Okay, talk to you soon. Okay, bye. Hey, PLN, it's June. No, it's not. It's July 2nd, 2026. We are into July, and we just celebrated Canada Day yesterday. Didn't go for a walk yet. Well, I mean, I didn't go for a walk and listen to podcasts yesterday, but we went for a walk. We went out for a hike at Othello Tunnels near Hope, BC, and then we ended up at the top of the Coquihalla Summit. We didn't walk all the way there, but we went up to the Ottomite Peak at the Coquihalla Summit Recreation Area. It was a beautiful day, kind of gray, but it was still nice to go for a walk in the woods and put on about 11 kilometers with my wife and some friends. So it was fantastic. Good celebration for Canada Day in our beautiful country called Canada. All right, this morning I listened to the Teach Lab with Justin Reich podcast, episode 93, called The Homework Machine, episode 4, Break the Teacher. And this was a great episode as they wrap up this 7-part series called The Homework Machine about artificial intelligence in education. And I really appreciated the work that Justin and Jesse did to present a case for having an open mind about artificial intelligence, about knowing that it's not easy to figure out. We might have some definitive statements to say like zero tolerance, but that is not going to work in our world today. How do we talk to students about the need for learning? These kinds of things are the big questions. Break the Teacher was one teacher's attempt to have his math class do math review and use no artificial intelligence, but whiteboards and markers and collaboration and things like that. Very interesting. Sarah Fuller out of San Francisco, I appreciate her thoughtfulness as she talked about her experience with trying to set up policies in her school and classroom, only to find out that they didn't work out as she had hoped. And she's, from what the way the episode ended, she's not going to stop trying, but she has learned a lot of things that she needs to work on to get her district in San Francisco, as well as in her own school, to be on board with and figure out how we can teach our students about artificial intelligence. I appreciated how Jesse and Justin wrapped this whole series up, and I encourage you to go back and listen to Teach Lab with Justin Reich, episode, I think it was 87 or 88, the episode 1 of The Homework Machine, because I think it'll inspire you and give you something to think about, definitely. And, it has very much so done so with me. This AI thing is like a yin-yang thing. There is a dark side and a light side to it, just like Star Wars and everything else. And so we need to be mindful about the positives and the negatives. Thanks all. Talk to you soon. Bye. Hey, PL, and it's July 6, 2026, and it's later in the day as earlier this morning it was pouring rain, and I was still sore from our hike on Wednesday on Canada Day. This morning I listened to episode 377 of the Easy Ed Tech podcast with Monica Burns as she talks with Sheila Dawkin about how AI can support teacher wellness and emotional intelligence. And I was like, that is curious, and so I listened. And it comes around that, we typically use AI as a productivity tool to help us with being more efficient and such things like that, creating content and creating products and things like that. But how about considering using AI as a thought partner, as not as a counselor, but as a way when we don't have another person to talk to just bounce some ideas off and get some ideas that we need to process and figure out, which is the best responses of how we can handle awkward and challenging situations. Sheila talks about a framework that she has in her book about AI and emotional wellness. as a strategy called the PRISM strategy, where we pause. Instead of responding, we pause, we reflect, I is for something, and then S is for strategize, and M is for move. And this framework can help us, not, with or without artificial intelligence, to make sure that we're not being overreactive when something happens. And that's really important. So have you used AI to ask questions about how to write responses to challenging emails? That's one way that we can use it to help us soften a response, to making sure that we don't get fired from a response to an angry parent that writes us an email. All right, there's a lot in here, so take a listen for yourself. Appreciate it. And that's it for Friday for this episode 266 of Fresh Air at 5. Thanks a lot. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
I appreciate you giving me a listen as I've created this podcast experience for you. It's like a unique Blinkist or Coles Notes version of the content I take in, like a highlight reel, so that you can hopefully find some other interesting podcasts you may not have considered before. I've recorded the specific episode podcast titles and episode numbers in the show notes, which are only a click or swipe away for your learning convenience. I've also started to put together a Spotify playlist of each of the episodes so that you can also take a listen to those specifically, and the link to that playlist is in the show notes. Please subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcoming episodes. And if you enjoyed this podcast and its format, share it with someone else. You can also follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Brian Carr, BRYONCAR, or at Fresh Air at 5. Tweet about your experience or give it a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. Fresh Air at 5 can be found on the Educational Podcast Network. Podcasts for educators, podcasts by educators. I hope you have a fantastic day. Get some fresh air before the day is out and take care of yourself, because you are worth it.